All right, boys and girls, good morning, America. This is Salty Vet back with the Tucker Carlson video. So Tucker Carlson, for those of you living under a rock, went over to the Kremlin in Moscow and interviewed Vladimir Putin. I have listened to all 2+ hours of it. And it's interesting, regardless of what you think of Putin. And he's not a good guy, right? This is not somebody you want to fuck with, just as a general rule. He makes people disappear. He poisons people. You know, whatever. Not a good guy. Having said that, I have in my lifetime never, not one time, heard a U.S. president, a U.S. vice president, let alone any member of our Congress, answer questions with the depth and the breadth that Putin answered. And if you've watched it, before the interview even happened, the legacy media was losing their fucking minds. And anytime that happens, right? Anytime I see somebody targeted, and we're all basically using the same playbook. He's Putin's puppet. He and Putin are friends, you know, blah, 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 all this stuff, right? It was a legitimate interview. Like, Putin pushed back on him several times. Tucker pushed back on him a couple of times. There were some hard questions asked. Why didn't you've been in charge of Russia for 20 some odd years. Why are you just now talking about, the Minsk agreements? And you have to watch the video to get into it. But the way he answers questions, and I guess I don't know if it's just me or I have been programmed to accept the way our politicians answer questions, which is to sidestep, which is to blame other people, which is to do literally everything but answer the goddamn question. And I can't think of one instance where he did that. Now, he would stop and not go into private discussions he had with Bush 43, with Clinton, even up to and including Biden, right? He mentioned a discussion he had with Zelensky. He wouldn't go into great detail, and all 3 or 4 times he said it wouldn't be appropriate for me to discuss that here with you. That was a private discussion. Like, that's fine. Okay. State secrets. I get it. Again, not a good guy. But just, he is, from what I've seen, so far head and shoulders above any politician I've seen interviewed in my entire lifetime. Obama, maybe a little bit because he was smooth in his delivery, but he still sidestepped shit, right? Answer the fucking question. And our elected officials think we're stupid because they will constantly do ad hominem, right? They will do whataboutism. And it's total horseshit. So again, not a fan, wouldn't vote for him if I was Russian. I don't even know that he's a good person. I know he loves his country, which is probably one of the reasons that there's so many parallels drawn between he and Trump. But anytime you see the legacy media, the mainstream media, losing their shit over something that they could have easily have done and chose not to? Like, fuck you, man. You're isolating this guy, and clearly his red line in the sand was NATO. Right? If you listen to the interview, he makes that abundantly clear. The red line in the sand was NATO. When the wall between East and West Germany fell, Russia said, hey, have it, but don't move any further east, meaning towards Russia. And we told them, okay, fine, we won't. We, being the U.S., driving NATO, not only did we not break that promise, we have moved within, 600 miles, 1,000 miles of his territory. So, he answers things very matter-of-factly, and I appreciate that. Having to listen to our fucking idiots give half-assed answers and ad hominem arguments and saying, well, yeah, but what about the other guy? We're not talking about the other guy. We'll get to him in a minute. And I even get if it's classified information. I get that. Most reporters are smart enough to know what questions to ask and what questions. I mean, you can still ask it, but you're not going to get an answer. They know that, right? They know what shit you can't talk about, at least on the record out in public. So I think this whole thing was a big nothing burger. I thought it was a good interview. He was a little long-winded for my taste, but it's fine. I think it's hilarious that these people went out again before the interview even happened and were trying to adjust the narrative, because the narrative has been good guy, bad guy, right? We're the good guy in the white hat, Russia's the bad guy in the black hat, and that's just not the fucking case, and it's way too elementary. Nothing works that way. In fact, I'm going to do a video. That's one of the 4 great untruths that our society has learned. Bad people have bad opinions by default, and that's just not the case. Prime example, Putin, probably a bad guy. Let's just say he's a bad guy. Had some really good fucking opinions. And I walked away thinking, okay, if we just leave this fucking guy alone, quit poking the bear, as it were, but we're trying to isolate him, and that's not going to go well in our favor, I don't think. Hopefully, I mean, we're spending, billions upon billions of dollars literally just throwing money down a hole. Ukraine cannot beat Russia in a land war. So it's just, it's a giant money laundering scheme. We all know it. If you're paying attention for more than 5 minutes. So, get your news from someplace other than the fucking television. Listen to podcasts. Weed through the information. Do research. Do that. We have to. I would love to just sit down, plug in, and go, okay, what happened in the world today? You can't do that because it's a narrative. And I think the reason that they were losing their minds partly was because of the narrative that has been portrayed about Putin, and he blew that completely out of the water. That coupled with the narrative of the Ukrainian war, which he also blew completely out of the water. You couple that with just good old-fashioned professional jealousy, and you've got a mixture for, the talking heads on CNN, just like their eyes are about to pop out of their head. It's hilarious. Do your research. Get your news from someplace I mean, you can watch CNN, it's fine, whatever. But take that with a grain of salt. Know that if you watch CNN or Fox, they do the same shit, right? You're never going to hear anything negative about your guy on CNN. You're not going to hear the negative about Joe Biden forgetting where the fuck he's at on CNN. You will hear about Trump mixing up Nancy Pelosi and Nikki Haley. You go to Fox, you won't hear about Trump mixing up Nikki Haley and Nancy Pelosi, but you will see endless loops of Biden forgetting where the fuck he's at. Man, we are in a sad state of affairs. It's rough. It is sad. I love this country, but man, we're headed for a bad fucking place. Until next time, educate yourself. I'm out.